Alright, we ready?
The origins of the man who would one day be known as the Emperor are shrouded in mystery. Some say that thousands of shamans feared that our race and planet would fall prey to the psychic entities that dwell in the warp. Therefore, in their thousands they swallowed poison, and in their thousands they died so that they would be reincarnated into a single body. Others say that he is just the most powerful of a group known as the Perpetuals. They are the next stage of human evolution, a Homo superior, gifted with supernatural powers and immortality.
We already have those, and those are called Reddit mods.
Any wound. We do know that he was already ancient before
Age of
mankind
Terror,
even
M1
took
to
to the
M15.
stars. Certainly, other Perpetuals did exist, and one by one he found them. Some opposed him, some simply wanted nothing to do with him, but some joined him, and so he set to his task, shepherding mankind towards a brighter future. If you look closely at the pages of history, you can still see his influence. Occasionally, he was a ruler or a warlord or a warrior, but mostly humanity needed gentler guidance from the shadows. But he was always there, always working towards his goal, the salvation
He
of
looks
our
like
race.
the Assassin's Creed
And
characters
humanity
with the hood up.
thrived. We stepped into the stars
Am I
with
wrong?
increasing confidence and skill. We bounded forward, colonizing Mars, the solar system, and then we spread outwards into the rest of the galaxy. We struck accords with alien races where possible, but defended ourselves where necessary. This interstellar empire was only attainable by the development of warp travel, a dimension of pure energy. The warp lurks beneath the skin of our reality. It is known as the Empyreum, the Immaterium, the Sea of Souls, and by many other
Dude,
names.
I want to sit.
It is both humanity's deliverance
Isn't
and
Warhammer
damnation.
related to StarCraft?
There, all of the
I have a
thoughts,
friend that plays a lot of
emotions,
StarCraft,
ambitions, and
and I
fears
could have sworn
of
I've
sentient
seen
life forms find physical
Something StarCraft
manifestation.
related in
They
Warhammer,
gather
but I
like
might be wrong.
rivulets of water, and so our dreams and nightmares formed creatures that eventually gained a rudimentary consciousness. Numbered amongst the most powerful of these beings are those referred to as the Chaos Gods. They weren't all created at once, and yet they have always existed. For the warp
Yeah,
is
that guy looks like a
unbound by the
StarCraft
laws
character,
of
no?
time
But the guy with the
and
tentacles.
space. There is Khorne, the god of warfare and rage. Nurgle, the god of disease and despair. Tzeentch, the god of change and sorcery, and Slanesh, the god of pleasure and excess. They war with each other in a great game of supremacy. Rarely do they put their differences aside and work together. Whether they are actually gods is up to
Yeah,
you
that
to
tongue
decide,
action on the girl
but
on the
they
right goes
wield unimaginable
crazy.
power and can exert some of it to create what is typically referred to as a demon. Despite the evils
I'm bricked
that
up.
lie
I
within
can't
the
stand up
Imperium,
anymore.
it presented a great opportunity. Faster than light travel. We developed engines that can pierce the veil separating reality, and Gellerfields to protect us from the hostilities within the warp. Navigators are also essential. Humans with the Navigator gene are genetic mutants with a third warp eye, which gives them the unique ability to steer through warp space. Humanity was able to essentially enter this dimension in one place and exit in another. This time of expansion was the zenith of mankind's scientific knowledge. Human scientists, engineers, and inventors were our new gods. They created wonders and worked even with alien technologies.
Okay, so this was like the Renaissance
standard
time.
template construct
Even the
machines,
art looks like it
or
came from the
STCs,
Renaissance. Look at it.
allowed human colonists to rapidly fashion everything that they needed to dominate new worlds from whatever natural resources were available. Our tools to create and weapons to destroy were at a new height. Just as with the navigators, the human species was even genetically enhanced in some instances.
Ooh.
Vast armies of gene-tailored troops now fought our wars. We of course dabbled in matters we should have left alone. the Men of Iron were created, sentient humanoid machines that served mankind's every need, be it administration or war. When they turned on
That's
their
gonna be
creators,
ChatGPT in a
their
few years.
armies
I'm
of
calling it right
mechanical
now.
soldiers rampaged and slaughtered billions. The Cybernetic Revolt, as it became known,
Or Pacific
was
Rim,
eventually
actually.
won by an alliance
This guy looks
of
like he came out of
galactic
Pacific Rim,
powers,
because you guys
some
can
of
see the
whom may not
orange
have even
core in the
been
middle.
human.
It's like the reactor.
We only have scraps of information on this conflict. However, artificial intelligence, or abominable intelligence as it is known, remains outlawed to this day. It is thought that this conflict weakened humanity and was a great step on the road to our downfall. We also have information suggesting that human psykers started to appear in larger numbers during this time. Psykers may appear to you as witches or wizards from ancient myth, or the very shamans mentioned in this tale. A psyker can touch upon the warp with their mind, channeling its energies to reshape reality. Some can conjure fire, glean instances of the future, or any number of abilities. Though not all are malevolent, rogue psykers have been known to claim godhood over entire worlds. Additionally, whereas all souls burn like candles amidst the tides of the warp, a psyker's burns like a lantern. Demonic entities are drawn
So wait,
to them.
okay, so these
They
guys are just
circle
super OP
like
then.
predators looking for a weakness.
So what's
and
stopping
can
them
even
from just
possess
taking over the
unprotected
universe?
Psykers. Unchecked, these beings presented a massive danger to entire systems.
Yeah.
We were reeling from the cybernetic revolt, dealing with anarchy caused by rising psyker numbers, and perilous warp storms rose to block off travel and trade. Hunger and starvation followed. Terrible wars broke out as warlords tried to carve out their piece of the galaxy. Some worlds were entirely isolated and over the millennia devolved into primitive societies. This period is often referred to as the Dark Age of Technology.
Why is it in so many of these like space lore videos or like these space universe videos, why is it when there's like a huge threat, people just don't deal with the threat? They always try to like run away from it. They're like, oh, we're gonna cut you off. And it's always for the same reason, being like, oh, they're too strong, we can't fight them. Bro, I want to see like a universe where they're like, no, straight from the beginning, we're going to fight and we're going to see who dies first. It's like, as soon as this guy mentioned, oh, they entered the Dark Age, I'm like, this is every post-apocalyptic movie, regardless of what type of genre it is ever. It's still good, but I just hope, at least when it comes to Warhammer, there's something a little bit different.
But not necessarily
Like on how they like
because of its
progress this story.
brutality or wickedness, but because so little in terms of its technology or records has survived. Much of our economic strength and political unity was gone. The aptly named Age of Strife was upon us. Post-apocalyptic barbarism rose even on the Earth itself, which had previously been a jewel, a shining hub of the powerful human civilization. Humanity's homeworld, now known as Terra, was in the grip of war as techno-barbarians battled with gene-enhanced soldiers. Our further destructive capabilities
Weapon
were
of choice,
unleashed.
dubstep or what?
Billions died, and even the last of the oceans boiled away. And then, in humanity's darkest hour, a shining figure emerged. After millennia of lying in the shadows, he had seen the vulnerability of humanity and the threats that are trying or will one day come to extinguish our light. We needed to be unified into one imperium of man. An iron fist was needed to put humanity back on the necessary
Holy
path.
shit!
He
They found
stepped into
Putin?
the light and took the name, the Emperor of Mankind.
Aww,
Over the
lame.
millennia, disaffection had grown amongst the Perpetuals allied to the Emperor. Their most
Bro, this guy looks like Hassan.
struggled
Why
to
is his
keep
head
pace
so
with
small
his
compared to the
mind,
rest of his
but
body?
They noticed he was cutting corners, ruthless in his demand for results. But what could they do? Even together, en masse, the Perpetuals were no match for his power. So over the millennia, most of them left or even betrayed the emperor. Amongst his plans was to build an imperium of man based on truth, his truth, the imperial truth. This removed the religion, faith, and superstition that had defined much of human history. The emperor had learned all too well that these were easy doors from which the powers of chaos can enter a mind. First,
okay, so basically this guy is trying to build Russia.
A seat from which his imperium would be ruled. He created the Legio Custodes, his personal golden bodyguard, each one a unique work of genetic science never to be replicated. But he needed other elite soldiers that could be mass-produced to spearhead his armies. 20 legions of gene-enhanced super soldiers, the Thunder Warriors, were created. The armies of the warlords of Terra were no match. The Emperor's mastery of science and warriorship was peerless. Yet still, the Thunder Warriors were flawed. Mentally unstable, they suffered catastrophic biological and metabolic failure unpredictably after a span of standard years. Another solution was needed. By this point, the Emperor had few of his ancient friends left. Yet Malkador the Sigillite and the Perpetual Urda remained. They were both incredibly powerful psykers, and Urda was also a genius geneticist. So once most of the natural Perpetuals had left his side, he decided to build some more. Working with their biotechnical division, the Primarch project began. Though not technically Perpetuals, the Primarchs were designed to live long enough to see his plan through to the end. They were to be born from his blood, his power, his vigor. They would be the generals to lead his vast armies, and through them, their genetic lines, the Space Marine legions, would be made. 20 Primarchs, 20 sons of the Emperor.
Dude, I swear to God, dude,
the
those outfits
of the Primarchs was not wholly genetic.
You guys see those outfits? Dude, I swear I could have seen these outfits in like StarCraft or WoW. I hope that doesn't piss off anybody that's actually like super deep into the Warhammer lore, but dude, these outfits look so familiar to me. I just can't figure out where they're coming from. It's like, it has to be StarCraft, right?
Primarchs, 20 sons of the Emperor, 20 legions. The basis of the Primarchs was not wholly genetic science, for the Emperor had not been idle over the ages. During the Age of Technology, along with other Perpetuals, he travelled to the planet Molech. There, they found it, a gateway to the realm of chaos. The Emperor entered and made a bargain with the Chaos Gods. Servants of these powers, who know of such things, will tell you that he stole some of their fire. For when he emerged back through the gateway, his power had grown even more, and he'd gained the knowledge of how to create the Primarchs. He was henceforth known to them as the Anathema. Furthermore, this was not the only secret that the Emperor kept. For few know, as the Emperor is the father of the Primarchs, the Perpetual Urda is also a biological source. She is their mother. She had stood by the Emperor all this time. She believed in their mission, even the roles of her sons, incredible warriors and generals though they would become. It was necessary to combat the forces that worked against humanity. But it wasn't until after they were born that she learned the true extent of his ambition, the ruthlessness of it. He sought to supplant the natural flow of life with an artificial version of the Perpetuals that trampled ethics, morality, and wise prudence. He would use their sons to bend humanity to his will. Those that would not bend would break. There are many and conflicting accounts.
So, is it weird to say that this entire group is basically just like Germany? Or like, because right now I'm getting like Captain America vibes from this. They want to create super soldiers and they want to maintain their power and they want to steer the course of humanity and make everybody bend to their will. It's giving like ruling with an iron fist vibes. It's like between Russia and Germany. I can't tell if these guys are like the good guys or like the bad guys, but the lore itself is actually kind of easy to follow. I thought everything was going to be super complicated, but even though these guys seem like the bad guys, at the very least, they're kind of easy to understand.
Of what happened next. Some say it was the sheer power of the Chaos Gods, furious at the Emperor's betrayal. Some say a causal loop was created by powers working against the Emperor in the future. But according to Erda, it was her. Understand, she loved her sons
This
dearly
is giving Dune
and
vibes for
sought
sure.
to spare them from his terrible ambition. She conjured a great warp vortex in the laboratory. The incubation pods were pulled into the immaterium and scattered onto planets across the galaxy. But not all was lost, for he still had their genetic material. The gene seed implants were made, used to grow 19 artificial organs that turn a normal human male into a superhuman space marine. Their strength, speed, resilience and skills are so extreme that they can annihilate enemies without rest or sustenance. Towering above mere mortals, they have many abilities, surviving underwater, spitting acid, healing at an incredible rate. Even the void of space is not necessarily a death sentence.
Dude, they say space marines again. I want to know where I'm, like, what I'm thinking
Their
of.
humanity is
That has to be StarCraft.
but their resolve is strengthened, honing them into dedicated and merciless warriors. The Thunder Warriors, for their part, were purged, their usefulness fulfilled, their worth surpassed. But finally Terra, as well as its moon Luna, were under the Emperor's rule, and so he set his eyes upon Mars. The Red Planet had suffered greatly through the Age of Strife, and terrible breaches had formed between Mars and Terra. A religion of survival rose up. The cult Mechanicus was dedicated to the machine god. When the Emperor came, he demonstrated his power by repairing a colossal war engine with but a single touch. Henceforth, he was commonly seen as the
It has to be
Omnissiah,
StarCraft.
the earthly representative of the machine god. The Treaty of Olympus was signed, unifying Mars with the fledgling Imperium. The Emperor agreed not to interfere in the Mechanicum
these
and
guys
allowed
just have
them
a
to
level
continue
10
their
prestige 10
beliefs.
gold camo
In
skins from Call of
exchange,
Duty.
they
Voice
and
crack.
their Forge Worlds would produce and manufacture the wide amount of weapons, ships, and other tools for the Imperium. The Eldar, or Eldari, are an ancient race. Their
Damn,
empire
she's
spanned 60
kinda hot.
million years. Such was their mastery of technology that their lives were spent indulging in decadence and pleasure, their every whim satisfied. They are exceptionally psychic beings, and so amidst the swirling energies of the Immaterium, the depravity of the Eldar formed a consciousness. The Chaos God Slanesh was born, and born violently. The cataclysmic explosion in the heart of the
Okay, somebody clarify for me real quick. So you have all these different classes, right? Is it possible for one person to join like a different class? Like, can the magic people somehow join up with like the superhumans? Or is that just like strictly not allowed? Because so far from what I understand, that's not possible. Because there's no way. Because I think each of these groups are like super prideful in what they do. So I don't think they will allow like some outsider to join their group. Like a group of superhuman soldiers that can spit acid, breathe underwater, and heal stuff instantly. I don't think they'd be too keen on having magic people join their group, right? Like, I think that would be more interesting, but I think according to the lore in this game so far, I don't think they would like that. But somebody correct me if I'm wrong though.
Eldar realm annihilated billions. Only a small number of Eldar survived, those who were in places the apocalypse could not reach. The Eldar civilization was nearly all destroyed, the spirits of the slain devoured by Slaanesh. It left a wound in real space, a massive warp rift called the Eye of Terror. In that dreadful place, the warp coexists with real space, and demon worlds lurk within. The colossal shockwave from this event blasted across the Immaterium, clearing the warp storms that had plunged humanity into darkness. This meant that traveling across the galaxy was feasible once again. In this way, the death of the Eldar Empire heralded the birth of the Imperium, and mankind inherited the stars. The Emperor's Great Crusade, now fully underway, aims to reunite the world.
So now we're entering our Napoleon era.
His banner,
universe domination for humanity.
Be purged, for he wanted to ensure that the tragedies of the past be prevented from occurring again. The Astronomicon was constructed on Terra, a psychic beacon powered by the Emperor's own might. Navigators can use the Astronomicon to pilot their ships through the otherwise unnavigable chaos of warp space. As the Great Crusade pushed out across the stars and worlds were claimed by the Imperium, eventually the Emperor found that which he coveted most, his own son. The 16th Primarch, Horus Lupercal, was found on the planet Chthoniya, proof that many of these incredible beings could still be reunited with their father. For many years, it was just Horus and the Emperor conquering worlds together, but over time, all of the Primarchs were found. They were not all as the Imperium expected. They had grown to maturity on their homeworlds, the landscapes and people moulding them. Naturally, they seemed as demigods to the local populaces, and many rose to become great rulers, but some were forced to eke out a life of pain and turmoil. Yet after
and then these guys become the supervillains.
These ultimate generals brought the word of the Emperor to the corners of the galaxy. Worlds who would not willingly join the Imperium of Man were brought into compliance by harsher means. Far beyond even the Space Marines, their powers and abilities rivaled those of the Emperor himself. Furthermore,
Icemoan Uprising.
Each one an embodiment of a different facet of their father's character, and the legions each developed their own preferences for warfare. They truly were magnificent. Unfortunately, the history of the Imperium recounts the titles of only 18 legions, yet 20 Primarchs were created. The fates of the 2nd and 11th legions are entirely unknown. The Emperor had their records and statues destroyed.
Wait, but there were survivors, right?
Swept the stars,
and they're going to come back later as villains.
And achieved the great triumph with a victory against a massive Orquar during the Ulanor Crusade. After this victory, the Emperor announced that he was going to return to Terra. There was a secret project to undertake.
Can somebody explain why the armor is so thick? Like, ain't no way this guy's hand is that big, right? Was this like just for fashion? Just to show off like that you're rich or something? Like, this guy's got drip. Like, he's got the fancy laces, he's got the crest, he's got the thigh armor. Bro, his chest plate even has abs carved into it. Like, this has to be just for like showing off and like lore, right? Or was there like a reason like this, like, was this a combat effective?
However, the Great Crusade needed to continue. Therefore, one Primarch had to be elevated to a level above his brothers. He gave Horus the title of War Master. To cement his power and demonstrate the honor that the Emperor had bestowed on him, Horus renamed the Lunar Wolves as the Sons of Horus. The
That sounds
Primarchs
badass
are
as
brothers
fuck.
of a sort,
Dude, I would
and
love to
as
be a
with
son of
any
Horus.
fraternal bond, tensions had arisen over the years. There was much bitterness and many rivalries. Magnus the Red, the Primarch of the Thousand Sons, was blessed with much of his father's incredible psychic talent, yet some of his brothers, notably Leman Russ and Mortarion, found Magnus's excessive use of psychic powers to be potentially dangerous. After a great debate, the Emperor issued the Edict of Nicaea, decreeing that all legions beyond the use of navigators and astropaths would no longer employ psykers. And Magnus was not the only Primarch to have felt slighted by the Emperor. Decades earlier, Lorgar and his word-bearers were rebuked by the Emperor for spreading worship and promoting the divinity of the Master of Mankind against
I just
the
thought that he had
ideals of
tattoos
the
on his head.
imperial truth. Humiliated, Lorgar was slowly poisoned against the Emperor by his top advisors, and he found new faith, this time in the Chaos Gods, beings worthy of his worship. They plotted the Emperor's downfall, and after many years, the time came. When Horus and his sons went to the Davin system to quash a rebellion, he fought Yugen Temba. Previously a friend, the planetary governor had been corrupted by Nurgle and wielded the powerful Anathame blade, gifted to him by the word-bearer Erebus. Though Horus defeated his old friend,
Spewing out of his
Temba
stomach.
had managed to inflict a devastating wound on the Primarch. It was resistant to their medicine, so, under the advisement of Erebus, the Sons of Horus sought help from the priests of Davin's Serpent Lodge. They enveloped Horus in a chaos ritual, and Horus's spirit was shown visions by the Chaos Gods. He saw lies and half-truths. The Emperor had deceived his sons, utilized the warp to craft the Primarchs, and then banned its usage. He had abandoned the Great Crusade. He had abandoned the Thunder Warriors. What would happen to Horus and his sons when the Great Crusade was over? Most damning of all, perhaps the Emperor was attempting to ascend to godhood himself. Magnus had foreseen this and projected his mind into the vision, where he begged his brother not to give in to the temptations of chaos.
Okay,
But it was not enough.
Okay.
The chaos.
You know what? That's probably the one redeeming thing. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I thought Magnus was just gonna be a complete fucking asshole because I thought he had the biggest ego in the world, being like, oh wow, I'm so much better than my brothers. But you know what? He actually vouched for his brother. And then he was like, you know what, bro? I don't think this is a good idea. I thought he was just gonna sit there and just let him like suffer forever and like die maybe. I have no idea if he dies. But you know what? Good on him. I thought he was a bad dude, but he proved me wrong so far.
Gods offered Horus power, and he grasped it. They healed his wound, and Horus returned, now their champion. None the wiser, through all of this, the Emperor was working on a most important task, the Webway project. The Webway, also known as the Labyrinth Dimension, is an extra-dimensional space partitioned off from the Immaterium, created by an ancient and long-gone race known only as the Old Ones. It is used by the Eldar for faster-than-light travel. It is far more efficient than warp travel, and, most importantly, bypasses the depredations of chaos. Using a powerful device, the Golden Throne, to access the Webway, he sought to remove humanity's reliance on warp travel, depriving chaos of its power. Humanity's ascendancy on the galactic stage would then be assured. However, Magnus the Red was about to do something, maybe, perhaps, a little bit wrong. Seeking to warn the Emperor,
I was wrong. I take back everything I said. Magnus is a dick.
Through the warp, into the Webway, to Terra, right past the wards that the Emperor had constructed to keep the Imperial Palace safe. Things took a turn for the worse quickly. The initial explosion and the following wars to keep demons from overwhelming Terra killed thousands. Henceforth, the Golden Throne would become the Emperor's prison, as his immense power was required to prevent demons from flooding into Terra. Not only was Magnus's warning not heeded, but Leman Russ was dispatched to bring him to justice. After Horus manipulated the orders, the Space Wolves fell upon Prospero with a righteous fury, in a show of irony that still makes the denizens of the warp laugh with glee. The Primarch who tried to warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal succumbed to chaos, used sorcery to spirit himself and what remained of his sons away. Now, in service to Tzeentch, Magnus would eventually come to serve behind Horus. The War Master needed
So
many
he got
allies
like
amongst his
corrupted?
brothers. Mortarion, Angron and Fulgrim joined the War Master and purged the loyalist elements from their ranks. A ship escaped, however, and brought word of Horus's treachery to the Emperor, who agonized at the betrayal of his sons. Horus had ensured that some of his brothers would be bogged down in wars across the galaxy and would not be able to respond in time. But still, the Emperor had 7 full legions muster and advance on the traitors. On Istvan V, the first wave of Ferrus Manus, Vulcan and Corvus Corax led their legions against the traitors with a righteous fury. The second wave dropped in behind them, and then it happened. It was revealed that the entire second wave of Conrad Kurz, Perturabo, Alfarius, and of course Lorgar had already thrown in with the War Master. The Drop Site Massacre, they called it. 9 traitor sons were sworn to Horus
that
to
looked
match
familiar.
the 9 sons loyal to the Emperor, but 3
A
of
certain
the Emperor's
country is very
legions were now
familiar with that.
severely weakened, and the Primarch Ferrus Manus was dead. Horus had the advantage, but he could not defeat the Emperor as things stood. He possessed but a fraction of his father's power. To even the scales, he too found the gateway at Molech and entered.
That was a bad comment.
When he returned,
I'm sorry.
his face looked like centuries had passed for the War Master. He had earned the favor and blessings of the Pantheon. There were many and varied conflicts throughout the years of the Horus heresy. Some were small skirmishes as brother turned on brother, but some were colossal battles where both sides deployed the god engines known as Titans, looming war machines that stride across battlefields with their apocalyptic weapons, laying waste to entire battalions. Even Mars was caught up in civil war, and the Edict of Nicaea was thrown to the wind so that the loyalist
Okay, so from what I understand so far, it seems like the vast majority of the conflict that happens in this like universe is just like an ego thing. So you have these different legions and like these brothers, and they're part of different legions, I think. And then one of them gets like offended, and then they get angry, so they betray somebody, and then the other people get offended because somebody that they didn't think would betray them betrayed them, so they decide to just nuke their country, or like just try to erase their people off the planet or out of the universe or whatever. So is that what? So is it safe to say that all of Warhammer is just purely political at this point? It's just political. Whoever gets offended first, pull out the guns first. Is that what this is?
legions could use all tools at their disposal. But Horus needed to take humanity's homeworld, to slay his father by his own hand in order to cement his rule over the Imperium. So with his gigantic traitor fleet, the Siege of Terra began. Only 3 loyal Primarchs fought with the defenders on Terra: Rogel Dawn, Jagatai Khan, and Sanguinius, beloved by all. Horus and Sanguinius had once been considered the closest of brothers. The great angel had the gift of foresight, and had seen visions of his death at the hands of Horus, yet he fought on, trying to preserve his father's dream. Secretly, however, hidden within the Imperial Palace,
I know I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die swinging.
To defend the master of mankind himself, and he stood ready with a dead man's switch that would destroy Terra should Horus prevail, denying chaos the world. Despite heavy bombardment and even demons manifesting on the homeworld of humanity, the defenders held time and again. They made the traitors pay for every inch, hoping to delay them long enough so that relief could arrive from the forces of Lionel Johnson and Rabute Gilliman. Throughout all of this,
these guys are
Horus
running out
and
fancy
the Emperor
names.
did psychic battle in the warp, and Horus was able to prevent the knowledge of Rabute Gilliman's proximity from reaching the defenders. To bait his father, Horus lowered the shields on his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. The Emperor knew that this was certainly a trap, but he needed to end this once and for all. Malkador took his place
he wins
on the Golden
eventually,
Throne,
right? After like a
an
hard-fought
act he
battle.
knew would kill him, but he would willingly give his life to prevent the demons from overwhelming Terra, and to give his friend time to end this. The Emperor, Sanguinius, Dawn, and a host of heroes teleported onto the Vengeful Spirit. What follows, none know for sure. But legend tells us that the forces were split up, and it was Sanguinius who found Horus first. Horus attempted to sway the angel to his side, but he held true. Sanguinius
he tried to
stood
pull off the
alone
talk no
against
jutsu.
this terrible foe. But even the mighty Primarch of the Blood Angels was no match for Horus, empowered such that he was. The angel was brought low. Soon after, the Emperor arrived in the throne room to end this revolt once and for all. They battled with the fury of gods, blow after blow that would have annihilated all others.
Sorry, I'm yawning.
It is said that still the Emperor could not bring himself
woke up like an hour
to
ago.
kill Horus, his beloved first found son. However, Horus held no such compunction. With the power of 4 chaos gods, Horus battered the Emperor bloody, breaking his ribs, gouging his left eye, and setting him alight with hellfire. Horus lifted his father high and brought the master of mankind down over his knee, crushing his spine. Horus howled with triumph over the beaten body of his father. The legends say that a hero then rose. He put himself between his lord and this champion of chaos undivided. In sight of the ruinous powers themselves, he was there the day Horus would slay the Emperor. He stood no chance, but it is believed that this noble sacrifice finally moved the Emperor. Whatever the cause, the Emperor could see Horus as truly irredeemable. The Blood Angels tell a tale where their Genesire had put a chink in Horus's armor.
What'd you call me?
Through this, the father sent a psychic blast that obliterated the soul of the son. The Horus heresy was over. In the aftermath, the Emperor's body was retrieved by Dawn. He was rushed back to the Imperial Palace, where the last of Malkador's life was spent. He was disengaged from the throne, and his body crumbled to dust. Only one being had the power and will to take that seat now. And so it was that the Emperor of mankind was interred on the Golden Throne. And there he remains, his physical form broken, but his spirit endures. neither dead
Now
nor
that guy
truly
looks
alive.
badass. I
For
want
the
to know who
next
this guy is.
10,000 years, every day, hundreds of psykers are sacrificed both for him and the Astronomicon. But this immense suffering is worth it. His power, his will, keeps the demons from overwhelming terror, and he directs the Astronomicon, which guides the ships of mankind through the warp. Without him, and the immense pain that he endures, mankind would be torn apart by the multitude of threats that face us. A great scouring took place after
That's a
the
tiny
heresy.
bit of responsibility that I
Horus's first
probably
captain,
couldn't handle.
Abaddon, took the War Master's body, and the traitors fled into the hellish sanctuary of the Eye of Terror. Many of these Marines are now sworn to the Chaos powers. These Chaos Space Marines are supplemented by their patrons. The glorious work of the Emperor is
A man can be convinced to do anything, no matter how abhorrent, with the right motivation. Beer, pussy, and money. There you go.
defiled. They are abhorrent abominations who utilize their dark gifts in the long war against the Imperium.
That's all you
To
need to know
prevent
about
another
men.
catastrophic rebellion, reforms are
Beer,
implemented.
pussy, and money.
Military bodies are divided. Even the Space Marine legions are split up into chapters, which, according to the Codex Astartes, should contain no more than 1,000 combat-ready battle brothers. These measures make sure that no individual can wield the same vast power that Horus once possessed. As well as having to deal with various chaos incursions, Xenos races, once held at bay during the Great Crusade, resurfaced. The Drukhari are sadistic Eldar killers. They lurk in the dark city of Commorrah that
Those are like
lies
the
within
Destiny
the
2
webway,
sparrows, dude.
and so they were sheltered from the
Oh, those
fall
take me
of their
back to
race.
2018.
They feed off despair and anguish. Emerging from webway gates, they raid and plunder at will, taking many slaves back to Commorrah for their dark experiments. Their nobler cousins, the Azuriani, fled the fall on vast space vessels known as craft worlds. Their immense psychic power and technology allows them to minimize their losses, for they cling to survival by a thread. War hosts only engage after the reading of the Skeins of Fate and lengthy debates by councils of Farseers, warlocks, and senior military leaders. Don't be fooled by their barbaric nature. The Orcs pose a formidable threat. They thrive on battle and mayhem. The infighting amongst the many competitive and violent warbands, tribes, and clans is thought by some to be the only reason
I don't know why.
that they have
Somehow I'm
not
getting Team
conquered the
Fortress 2
galaxy.
vibes, even though I
For
never played the game
when
before.
enough
That guy
orcs
reminds me of
unite
Heavy.
under a powerful war boss, the resulting war
Even though he doesn't
is
have the machine
nearly
gun.
unstoppable.
He reminds me so much of
1500
Heavy.
years after the heresy, for example, one called the Beast led a huge force that nearly claimed Terra itself. The Emperor's remaining loyalist sons are now long gone. They go missing, some are presumed dead. Only one lives, and barely. Rabute Gilliman of the Ultramarines had his neck cut by the poisoned blade of his brother Fulgrim after the heresy. He was put in stasis on the edge of death. He sits as static as his father, but a morbid symbol of the age of Primarchs, of the time when the Emperor strode the galaxy. As for those fallen sons, 6 traitor Primarchs.
Whoever did the art in this game is so good. Or the people, that's like the best thing about Warhammer that I see so far. The art. It is so good. But even though it's not hyper realistic, and like to some degree, maybe it's not like as detailed as it could be, I legitimately think this is like intentional. it's so clear who is different from the other, why, and like their actions match their character so well. I think that's the big thing. Their actions match their character super well.
Assist. They have ascended to demonhood, bound to their patron gods in eternal
That guy definitely
servitude,
did fence.
but wielding almost godlike powers. Time and again, they bring calamity down on the worlds of the Imperium. And so who is left to run the Imperium? The High Lords of Terror now wield incredible power. Beneath them, bureaucrats, the Adeptus Terror, organize the
paperwork.
Imperium. Systems that call for aid sometimes don't see a response for decades, by which time they've already fallen to invaders or turned from the Emperor's light themselves. Worlds are generally permitted to rule as they see fit, so long as they pay their tithes, such as the military manpower for the Astra Militara. The regiments of the Imperial Guard are the flesh and bone shield for the Emperor's realm. They may not have genetic enhancement or technological superiority, but they do have their overwhelming weight of numbers and enough artillery, mechanized support, and lasguns to fill the air with apocalyptic levels of firepower. Such immense
It's basically America.
Is at the
just shoot the bad guys.
Call
That's
of
the
the shadowy organization of the Inquisition. Inquisitors are able to requisition whatever military assets that they require for their mission.
Holy shit, the dual wield?
Being the survival of the Imperium. Inquisitors act with the authority of the Emperor's own hand. To deny them is death. They will deal it out mercilessly and even unleash the ultimate sanction of exterminatus upon worlds that they consider lost. Over the millennia, many times, the Imperium expands, shrinks, is split, then stitched back together. Imperial forces, and in particular the Adeptus Mechanicus of Mars, will go to any lengths to recover an STC, lost knowledge from the Dark Age. But humanity stagnates in many ways. Superstition is abound, and the fear of abominable intelligence is still great. This is one of the reasons that the reclusive leagues of Votann keep their Votann ancestor cores secret from outsiders. These ancient thinking machines provide them with wisdom, and other sapient machines, the Ironkin, are even integrated into the species society as equals. The kin are an abhuman clone race of expert miners, traders, and warriors that live amid the extreme worlds of the galactic core. Tough in body, mind, and bravery, they use their highly advanced technologies to take what they need and ensure that they do not dishonor their ancestors. Truly, the great irony of the Imperium today is that the Emperor, a man who decreed that there are no gods, is worshipped as one himself by most of humanity. The Imperium.
But that's basically every leader, dude. I feel like so many leaders are just huge narcissists. I'm not a god, but I want you guys to be treated like God. No, I want, like, guys, I'm just like you guys, but you guys gotta treat me like a god because I'm the one that's standing in front of you all. Is because my pedestal is like 2 inches higher than yours, it makes me the ruler of all. Like, yeah, dude. You got a big dick.
Your cult is pervasive and worships the God Emperor, who guides and watches over us all. Defiance of the official state church, the ecclesiarchy, is met with resolute severity and merciless purges. The lessons of the Great Crusade are forgotten for most. Even some of the Space Marine chapters deify the
Sorry, got a phone call.
master of mankind. Warriors of faith, such as the Adepta Sororitas, would gladly martyr themselves for their holy missions. The Sisters of Battle advance with the Holy Trinity of Boltgun, Melter and Flamer, and ever their prayers ring out for the God Emperor. Crazier still, it works. Time and again, soldiers report miracles on the battlefield. Devout believers find themselves surviving against overwhelming odds, guided by his golden light. The phrase, "the Emperor protects," is given new meaning. More Xenos threats arise to challenge humanity's rule. Like the Tau, a young but technologically confident race intent on carving out their own empire. They are guided by the ethereals and their philosophy of the greater good, and so their armies of fire warriors and alien allies aim to bring their hope and enlightenment to the darkness of bleak stars. But they, like most Xenos threats, pale in comparison to the Tyranids and the Necrons. The Tyranids are not from our galaxy, but they invade as apex predators. The Great Devourer's technology is purely biological engineering, and the High Fleet
These guys should try playing Roblox
at a
then.
terrifying rate. The entire race is directed by a single hive mind. It seeks to consume all forms of genetic and biological material. The Tyranids strike us from within also. Gene stealers can infiltrate societies. They infect the mind, body and soul. Gene stealer cults have abhorrent human gene stealer hybrids that wait for the glorious day when they can begin their uprising. Millions of years before our time, the Necrontyr were suffering greatly from the solar winds and radiation storms of their planet. As they spread out across the stars, their unity eroded until eventually the ruling council, the Triarch, decided a common enemy was needed. For this, they chose the mighty race, the Old Ones. But the Necrontyr were seriously outmatched during this conflict, which became known as the War in Heaven. We believe that it was during the reign of Zarek, the Silent King, that the Catan first came to them with aid. These star gods shared their hatred of the Old Ones, and so they offered support and immortality. The Silent King accepted, and so the biotransference began. Now, technically, the Catan's offer of immortality was true, as the flesh bodies of the Necrontyr were no more, and the immortal living metal bodies of the Necrons now stood. Zarek saw the Catan feast on the very life essence of his people, and the depth of his mistake was made clear, so he bid his time. It is believed that during the War in Heaven, the Old Ones created the younger races for allies, which included the races that would one day become the Eldari, the Orcs, and perhaps even humanity. After the war was won and the Old Ones were defeated, Zarek led his warriors in revolt. The unimaginable energy weapons
it's never
of
enough,
the
is
Necrons
it? It's never enough.
into shards. With revenge achieved, The Silent King departed our galaxy, but not before commanding his people to enter stasis within their tomb worlds. He then destroyed the command protocols that granted him control of the people that he had failed. Most Necrons remain dull-witted creatures with little memory of the individual that they once were, but the Necron Lords and Overlords retain all of the drives, obsessions, and personality that they once possessed. For 60 million years, they slumbered, but now they rise once more, and the Silent King has returned. They seek to reclaim their lost empire, eradicating all life in their path with technology that does not obey the laws of physics and an inexorable determination. But make no mistake, the true archenemy of the Imperium of Man remains chaos. Their forces are often in disarray, but one has risen to unite them.
Gorlog the Destroyer is in Warhammer?
Abaddon has claimed the mantle of War Master. He leads the Black Legion, and since the heresy, they have blighted the Imperium with their Black Crusades, each one accomplishing some nefarious aim of Abaddon's. They culminated at the end of the 41st millennium with the 13th Black Crusade that obliterated Cadia, a bastion of defense against chaos incursions. It was our darkest hour, and so, after 10,000 years, servants of the Emperor used advanced technologies and even aid from the Eldar to revive the Primarch Rabute Gilliman. Against all odds, they succeeded.
Dude, I'm sorry. I can't take this guy seriously because of his name.
Beacon, reborn with the mantle, nay, the burden of leadership.
Rebooted him.
His Indomitus crusade pushes back against the forces of chaos, but it seems that Abaddon's planning has paid off. A great rift, the Cicatrix Maledictum, has opened, a series of warp storms that have cleaved the Imperium, the Milky Way galaxy, into two. The ensuing catastrophes claimed the lives of countless worlds, fleets, and armies. Despite everything, still, the two halves of this broken empire fight on. The Emperor still continues his struggle on the Golden Throne in immeasurable pain, for only in death does duty end. Some say he has awakened, and he calls out for his lost loyal sons, and they are coming. The other living demigods of humanity will return. The enemies of mankind will meet the Emperor's mightiest servants, as once again they lead their sons and the ferocious forces of the Imperium of Man, and that will not be enough. I'm sorry if I misled you, but this was never a story of humanity's triumph over darkness. The forces that attack this bloated, rotting carcass of an empire are too great. Whether by technological superiority, weight of numbers, or sheer malice, the Imperium will fall. And that is why we must fight. For humankind refuses to go quietly into another race's history books. We will make them pay for every inch of our galaxy that they claim, and unleash upon them such fire and fury that the next time a force assembles to take this realm, they will shudder at the scars left upon it by humanity. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The best part about this video, it was the ending. I'm sorry, I said it. The way that I can best understand the universe of Warhammer is probably by looking at it through the lens of Destiny 2. You have a whole bunch of different races and they all want power. Some of them are related to each other, some of them are related to humanity, and they're all granted power by something. And they either still have this power, or they lost the power, or they're hidden away for a little while, but eventually they come back out and they start fighting each other, and they want to annihilate each other so they can win, right? So, am I getting there? Is that basically Warhammer? I think Warhammer is interesting. I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about because I keep on seeing like little snippets of Warhammer clips, Warhammer sculptures and figures and people painting them. I just wanted to see what the fuss was about. But I will just straight up say Warhammer is interesting. I'm not sure if this is because I just woke up an hour ago, but I had a hard time paying attention. But it's still pretty good, honestly. I can definitely see why this game has a huge like fan base to it. Apparently Warhammer's like really expensive too. Like some of these figures go for like thousands of dollars, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's pretty good. Okay.